Yep. What up, y'all? Welcome back to the It Bees Like That podcast. As always, I'm your host, Chris. What is today? I don't want to mess this up. What are we going to call this? Day 19, Monday, February 19th, 2024. Black History Month. Feel good about that. Let's feel good about that. Yeah. All right, so straight to the point. As y'all know, like, I get hung up on stuff, right? So my mind, well, I don't know if it's fair to say that I fixate on things, but I will think about things to a point. Like, I will do my best to try to figure solutions out for a given problem, or a way to reframe my perspective on an issue, so that way I can get my mind to relax. I have these different strategies and tools that I would use, mainly to get my mind to be quiet when I'm trying to go to sleep, because that's when my mind seems to be the most active. Which makes sense, because I'm not distracted or occupied by doing things with my physical body. Anyway, so what I was thinking about last night is something that I've heard and I have not bought into since the first time I heard it, and that is the assertion, and this is a huge mistake, I think, that people who don't fully understand what recovery means, this is a mistake that they commonly make, and that I hear. And it makes sense for the following group of people who are adjacent to the experience of addiction, right? Because it's a way for them to kind of make sense of it all, reconcile people like me who early couldn't string together more than 90 days and then relapse. So you will hear people say relapse is a part of recovery. If you are new to recovery, or even if you're not in recovery, let's say you have a loved one or someone who's new in recovery, or they suffer from addiction, the disease of addiction. If you hear anyone say this to you, two things I would advise you to do. A, either begin asking them very, very simple questions and make them qualify that statement. Make them explain to you exactly what it is that they mean and where that logic fits into a practical plan for recovery. When a person is living in spiritual principles every day, has a conscious connection with a higher power, is in fellowship with other addicts or alcoholics, and is of service. Where that logic of relapse is a part of that kind of recovery, ask them to point to that, right? And if they can't, get away from that kind of person as quickly and as far as possible, because that statement is categorically false, and it is absolute bullshit. That's right. I said it. Bullshit. Simply because relapse happens in recovery does not mean that it has to be a part of your story, or a part of your experience, or a part of your process. I can tell you that any and all of the times that I relapsed, 100% of those, without fail, I wasn't doing what I needed to do to recover from my disease on a daily basis. I just wasn't doing it. Plain and simple. There's no way around it. There's no additives or preservatives you can add to it. You can't sprinkle no tapatio on there, no salsa, no nothing. You know what I mean? It's keep it casual, maintain civil tones, and let's exercise a little bit of logic here. You can absolutely get clean and stay that way, never using again. Let me hear you say it to yourself. You can get clean and stay that way. You do not have to ever use again. Tell me why you would. Why would you have to? What is it? Is there a Junior Woodchuck recovery handbook that I didn't get on day one that says that you have to relapse in order to get this thing? Many of us do. Many of us do, and some of us don't make it back. But it does not have to go that way. Not for you. I mean, just imagine, right? And this is part of the psychology that I think used to trip me up. Because as an addict or an alcoholic, what are one of the most dangerous things that you can have? Reservations. So imagine being in recovery, going to meetings, doing service work, doing step work. You have a sponsor. Maybe you even have sponsees. But in the back of your mind, there's this little voice. Relapse is a part of recovery. Relapse is a part of recovery. Is that so ridiculous? Is that to say that, like, if I relapse, I come back even stronger? Because listen, there's no guarantee that any of us make it back. A lot who try do, but a lot who try don't. Some of us die when we go back out. That's the reality of it. Some of us don't make it back. So I say, let's get rid of that stupid ass shit. Why do we say that to people? Why on earth would you say that to someone? Why? Well, because you are trying to, like I say, make sense of it in your mind. It's hard for you to figure out how a person could go from seeming to do so incredibly well and on their way to healing and being in recovery day to day and their truer selves beginning to reemerge, and you know your relationships are beginning to heal and everything is going great, and boom, it feels like this came out of nowhere for you. Well, relapse is a part of recovery. Nice, neat, clean, and tidy. Fuck that. Nah, that's ridiculous. It's goofy. It's not like you like catch a relapse like a cold. You know what I mean? Listen to me. Once you change the expectations that you have for yourself, you must also begin to take this new part of you extremely seriously. Very, very, very seriously. It doesn't matter how anybody else feel about it. Does not matter. This is your life, your spiritual freedom, your sanity and your serenity, your recovery. You must be the one to start taking yourself very seriously. Because, hey, check this out. When I go into a room or any situation, when I wake up, there's no question in my mind about any of the parts of me that make me who I am. Zero question. And a person in recovery being one of them. That's why you don't see Chris going out. I don't go out. Look, I might go do... I'm smart with it, y'all. So when there are festivals and stuff like that, I'll go early. When all the old people be there. Before all the youngsters get there, before everybody starts drinking and getting rowdy. Because that's not my scene. Those are not my people. My people have a bedtime about 7 o'clock. I live my life like a person in recovery. That means I protect myself from people, places, and things that would otherwise throw me off my pivot. This is a smart thing to do. This is one of the strategies that I use to protect myself. And if you were smart, you would do some of the same things. Another way that I protect myself is I enter every circumstance in my life with incredible internal power. Meaning I'm powerfully self-aware. I sit in power with people, not over people. Some people have an idea that they command respect by verbally demanding it. I command it by my demonstration. The way I treat you, you will not treat me worse. You will not treat me worse. I have a pretty high degree of self-worth, meaning I don't see myself as better than any one or group of individuals, but I am better than some of the shit that y'all out there doing. I'm just better than that. I value myself better than that. I want more for myself. I demand more of myself. So you're not going to see me just for the sake of being around people, going to kick it I'll watch the fights at home if I choose to watch the fights. Nah, bro, I'm not going to go to that barbecue because I know what y'all are going to be on. I'm not going to do it. Yeah, I miss you guys, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to go down. With work people, look, the only social stuff I'm going to is going to have to go down before 10 a.m. because I know that y'all ain't going to go, because there might be a couple of you out there that will day drink, but I know that typically what's going to go down before 10 a.m. is donuts and Starbucks, bro, and I'm into that. You can get me behind that. You know what I'm saying? Another list of strategies I use to protect myself. Why? Because I don't want relapse to be a part of my story. I know the implications there. I know it's at stake. I have a healthy respect and fear for relapse and what it will mean to my life and the people that I love. I have clear, defined, definite, and solid boundaries that I allow no single human being outside of my family to challenge. None. That means zero. Just think of like a castle with like, and this is like for y'all that know me. Think of this big castle, right? It's on this little tiny island on land, but right. So check it. There's 3 moats. They all got barriers. The first moat would be like hippos, hippopotamus, and then the second one would be like gators. And the next one will be like, I don't know, crocodiles, whatever. You got to get through all 3 of those moats. Then you got to figure out how to get my drawbridge down. These are the boundaries that are real in my life. You're not just going to walk up and throw me off my square. I don't give that kind of energy. Nowhere in my life do people approach me with that kind of energy. It is not going to happen. I also tell people the truth because that's what I appreciate. I don't like to feel managed. I don't like when people like sugarcoat stuff just as like, you know, they might feel like they're going to hurt my feelings. No, just tell me the truth. All that like motivational interviewing, man, that shit is corny. Nobody likes that. It's insulting. It's condescending. Don't do it. What I hear you say, yeah, man, you heard correct. That we don't need, you're not a mirror, bro, sis. Something else I do whenever possible is I create obvious, clear, and public distinctions between me and the bad actors of the world as quickly as possible. And for as many eyes to see, because I don't have time for anyone, and that's another reason why Chris doesn't kick it. I'm very selective with the people that I spend my time with. Very selective. Because I should have learned years ago, but I have learned the lesson that simply standing next to someone can make you complicit. Someone that you like and that likes you can see you standing next to someone they don't like. Or maybe that person stands for things that they don't like. They're diametrically opposed. Now you are too. Now that's not to say that you shouldn't, because I do, pick a side, have a position and opinion, and stand on it. Be committed. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying be selective and be careful with who you decide to share your allegiance with. Because not everybody is you. What else protects me from relapse? I keep a mental, spiritual, and physical routine. This keeps me grounded like nothing else. What is one thing about the life and active addiction? Man, it's dynamic, that's for sure, and it's unpredictable. The one thing you can usually predict with a fair degree of accuracy is that you don't know what the next day is going to bring. And this next point is really, really important. Never, when possible, adjust yourself, your routine, what gives you peace around anyone else or around the world to make their lives simpler. Never do that, because 9 times out of 10 will not do the same for you. I always do my best. And this is you can ask my wife. I always do my best to make sure that I fulfill I hit all the check boxes for serenity, for my peace every day. I got to do it. No is a complete sentence. You can tell someone no and they'll be all right. They will be all right. Trust me. And if they really want what they're asking you for, they ain't going nowhere. They'll still be there. They may have a bit of an attitude, but they'll be all right. They're just going to have to feel how they're going to feel when you protect your energy and your inner peace. Because that's your right. This is another good point. So when I observe this in people, when they get blessed, they want to let their foot off the gas. They want to celebrate. They want to brag. They want to boast. They want to show people how blessed they are. Now, I'm not saying that this is altogether bad, because we should be able to be proud of ourselves and celebrate ourselves. I think this is healthy. Not everybody is always going to like it, but that's all right too. But you have a responsibility with these new blessings to live up to them. You've got to demonstrate worth in these ways to God, and that is your way of saying thanks. On top of worship, right? And living a righteous and just life. You got to live up to these blessings. There's a higher standard for your life now. It's not the same as it was yesterday. Today's price is not yesterday's price. There's more work to put in. You have to accept that. This comes with the territory. There's no negotiating. You don't want that? Your misery can be fully refunded. Straight up. You can lose blessings that you don't use. I don't make the rules. I just deliver the news. Hey, come on, man. Listen, feeling good today. Aside from protect this is a good strategy from protecting myself and ourselves from relapse. Society is also very, very fickle. In the affirming spirit that you see where you're winning, shown to you by other people, is fleeting and momentary. Trust me, because the second there's a divergence of interest, that stuff's going to stop. And they will start hurling criticism your way and harsher judgments than you thought would ever come from them. They know it's wrong. You know it's wrong. You know you don't deserve it. But what you'll be faced with is either an individual or a group of individuals, blatantly unrepentant, and don't give a damn. They don't give a damn. You the enemy now, and that's all that matters. This next one is difficult, right? Because we use our judgment in different ways. That word alone carries a lot of weight, and you have to be careful with how you wield it. So just pay attention and listen carefully. Don't just get hung up on the emotion attached to this word. We use judgment to discern and to map paths, whether it be socially, professionally, it doesn't matter. In our love life, we use judgment, period. But at the same time, we must consistently and painstakingly take our own inventory, right? We spend a lot of time taking the inventory of others. This can be an unhealthy endeavor. I caution you to not veer or venture too far down this path. It's unavoidable. We're humans. We do it. Don't beat yourself up over doing it, but just be aware. A good strategy might be, to whatever degree you criticize other people and take their inventory, you should be at least doubly critical of yourself. What you might find is that this is an unpleasant experience. So, in order to mitigate that, or those feelings, because nobody likes feeling unpleasant things, you may find yourself becoming a bit less critical and judgmental of other people. At least in the ways that are the most negative, right? You know, I think back 5.5, 6 years ago to a time when I had to take a shower with the bathroom lights off because I couldn't stand to see my own reflection. I'm talking about the weight that I gained, and not even just that, but just something that people don't, well, you might know this, but parts of this anyway, that alcohol dehydrates you, and it dehydrates the cells in your body. And when your cells become dehydrated, they become inflamed. So that's why you'll see, and it happened to me horribly. I just get this face like the moon, just big, round, puffy, red face, and it looked terrible. And just being high and drunk and the amounts of alcohol that I would have to have consistently, mind-boggling. And it was pretty frustrating too, because it literally prevented me from doing almost anything. Like, I could walk, that's about it. But driving, that's out. I'm not talking on the phone because I'm just man. It just spins and double vision, and it's not a party. It's not a party. And what I'm talking about also is a level of frustration that at least I, in the worst parts of my addiction, felt, knowing, like I was watching, and it was more frustrating because I had parts of my life where that weren't like that. They were, relatively successful and looked really, really good, and I had fun and I was healthy, and the juxtaposition of the later stages of my addiction with those, very discouraging. It's even more frustrating and lonely, right? Because you recognize, or at least I did, that at least in that state, it was very difficult to. I understood that people loved me, but there was no way that I was having a relationship not a meaningful one. My marriage was a mess, but knowing too that part of the reason wasn't just my addiction. Part of the reason was that I had this fear about loving and being loved. And this is where the self-sabotage comes in. I had this fear about loving and being loved because I was convinced that no matter what, at the end of the day, everyone leaves. Doesn't matter what they say. Doesn't matter how many times they say they love you. Everyone leaves. This makes life nearly impossible. So living a life that resembles like this circus act of high wire self-sabotage, what a fascinating tragedy, right? And I'm not unique this way. There are millions of people out there with this disease who have tremendous promise and potential, and it is just drowned by untreated trauma, alcoholism, and drug addiction. It's supremely sad. Another way that I stay away from those feelings, that version of myself, is I bring my own program. I know a lot of people benefit from this, having a live connection to community and recovery inside of the program. I'm just not one of those people. I don't have it in my energy budget to maintain all the stuff internally that I have to, along with the amount of pleasing that is required when you have X amount of friendships. So I choose to keep it simple, keep it small, and I work my own program. At the end of the day, it's really simple. I found a way to sustain myself through living in spiritual principles, being of service, and the reward I get from freely giving of myself, whether it's my message, my time, my career choice, whatever. Those rewards and experiences are immeasurable. There may be some variance when it comes to you. You may find that almost the exact same, plan and path and plan of attack works for you. I don't know. But I can tell you, again, that you can get sober, get clean, and you do not ever have to use again. Relapse does not need to be a part of your story. Even if it has been historically, it doesn't need to continue to be. That's a bunch of BS. And start telling yourself that. Start telling people that. That's what I mean by taking this part of your life very seriously. I don't know if you missed it, but this is where you get to define things. This is where you get to rewrite the narrative. This is where you become the leader. When you're an active participant in your life, you are the one who is in charge, second to God. Lean into that shit. Lean into that shit. And then you'll one day end up having, what I call regular people problems, right? Having the money leave your hand before it even get a chance to get warm, but everything's paid and everybody's fed, right? Every once in a while, you get to go out and have some yummy food. You remember things. You don't have to call the next day and apologize or go look at your car and hope that there's not blood and hair on the bumper or fenders. You know where all your charged and debit cards are. You're waking up in jail with a new charge where you got to call the CO and ask him what you're booked for. Oh, man, I don't miss that shit. So, no, relapse, even though it happens in recovery, bump that. It is not a part of recovery. It can be a part of people's story, but it doesn't have to be. So resist that shit. You write the book. You're in charge. Look, man, appreciate y'all. If you didn't do it on the way in, do it on the way out. Hit that like, subscribe, and post notification bell. You can stay up to date on all the cool, fun, wacky, and zany stuff we talk about here on the Bees Like That podcast. Peace, y'all.